I pay your salaries through my taxes. Now you will do one job you are paid to do. Find my daughter. You're watching African Tales Magic, bringing timeless African tales to your screen. Hit that subscribe button and never miss a story. Thank you. The world returned to Stephen and Sandra as a slow, painful throb behind their eyes. The bright lights and loud music of the carnival were gone, replaced by a thick, damp darkness that pressed against their skin. The air was cold and carried a sour smell, a mix of sweat, mud, and fear. They were on a hard concrete floor. Sandra's beautiful carnival outfit was now dirty. Stephen's stylish shirt was torn at the shoulder. All around them, shadows moved and murmured. Soft crying came from one corner. A man was whispering a desperate prayer in another corner. Panic shot through Sandra like electricity. Stephen, where are we? Her voice was too loud in the quiet room. I don't know. Stephen scrambled to his feet, his legs shaky. He stumbled to a heavy metal door and banged on it with his fist. Hey, let us out! Open this door! His shouting triggered others. A woman began to sob loudly. A young man joined Stephen, yelling at the door. Suddenly, a harsh clang echoed from the other side. The door flew open, slamming against the wall. A giant of a man filled the doorway, a thick wooden club in his hands. A jagged scar ran from his eyebrow to his chin. His eyes were cold and empty. Who is making that noise? He boomed. The room fell into instant terrified silence. He stepped inside, his boots heavy on the floor. He looked at Stephen, who had frozen mid-punch. You, he said, his voice low and dangerous. You want to go home? Stephen couldn't speak. He just stared. The guy smiled a nasty smile. Your home is here now. This is your new house. And in this house, we have just one rule. Silence. He continued. The next mouth I hear open will taste this wood. We can always get more people. You are not special. You are cargo. He turned and left, slamming the door shut. The sound of a heavy log turning echoed in the silence. Sandra finally let out the breath she was holding, and it came out as a whimper. Stephen slid down the wall beside her, his bravado completely gone. He was just a scared boy. A woman's calm voice came from nearby. Save your tears. They are no use here. It was Ifoma, the fashion designer. Her face was tired, but her gaze was steady. They will give us bread and water once a day, and that's all. They call us the batch, like goods in a market. What market? Sandra whispered, her voice trembling. What do they want with us? Ifoma shook her head. I have been here for 3 days. I have heard things. They wait for someone they called the Dawn. He comes to choose. A cold dread settled in Stephen's stomach. This was all his fault. His big plan for the best night of their lives had led them into a concrete hell. The morning sun did not reach the dark room, but it reached the homes that were now empty. In Stephen's apartment, his mother had not slept. Stephen's bed was untouched. She had called his phone over 100 times. It rang twice, and then it went straight to voicemail. She had called all the numbers in his small phone book. His football friends had last seen him at school. No one knew about the carnival plan. Her fear was a living thing coiling in her chest. She dressed quickly, her hands shaking. Who would listen to her? But she had to try. At Chief Nelson's estate, the silence was different. It was the silence after an explosion. Chief Nelson stood in the center of his marbled floor living room. His housemaid, Grace, and the night security guard, Abu, stood before him like condemned people. She gave you money, Chief Nelson said, his voice terrifyingly quiet. So you opened my gate and you let my only child into the night. Sir, she begged us, Grace started, tears streaming down her face. She is a child, the chief's roar made the crystal glasses on a shelf tremble. You are adults. You were paid to protect, not to be bribed. Get out, both of you. If I see your faces again, you will regret it. As they scurried out, Chief Nelson turned to his personal driver, John. His face was a mask of control fury. The main police station now, and get the commissioner of police on the phone. I want a meeting in 30 minutes. The bell rang at the elite high school, but no one rushed to the class. Students stood in small serial clusters in the hallway, their voices hushed. It's true. They're about to file a missing report for both of them. I heard they went to that Ajinde first. My parents said it was a dangerous area. A girl who had always admired Sandra started crying quietly. What if they are... She couldn't finish that sentence. The usual energy of the school was gone. The football field stood empty. The social center, usually buzzing with video games and chatter, was quiet. The high walls that had always made them safe now felt like they were trapping a horrible secret inside. In the SS3 classroom, Sandra's empty seat was a glaring hole. Stephen's chair, usually pushed back carelessly, was neatly tucked in. Their teacher, Mr. Richard, tried to start the lesson, but his heart wasn't in it. Today, we will continue with our project work, he said, his eyes drifting to the empty spaces. No one walked, they just talked in whispers. The upcoming science fair felt silly and unimportant. How could they care about projects when their classmates were gone? The main police station in Lagos was a storm of noise and paperwork. Stephen's mom waited at the counter, clutching her wrapper tightly. Officer, please, my son Stephen. He is a student. He didn't come home last night. The officer behind the counter didn't even look up from his form. Madam, how old is he? 17, she said. 17? The officer finally glanced at her. Madam, boys of 17 sometimes stay out. Maybe he's at a friend's place. Fill this form. We'll look into it when we can. But he's a good boy. He wouldn't... A plea was cut off as the main doors burst open. All heads turned. Chief Nelson entered like a force of nature. His expensive agbada, his hair of absolute authority, parted the chaos of the station. The station head, Officer Garba, rushed from his office adjusting his cap. Chief Nelson, welcome, sir. Welcome? Chief Nelson's voice silenced the room. My daughter is missing and you're telling me welcome. What's been done? I want to see the team on this case now. It was a spectacle of paternal fury. He leaned on the counter, his presence overwhelming the tired constables. I built your station's new clinic. I pay your salaries through my taxes. Now you will do one job you are paid to do. Find my daughter. As he spoke, his personal phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his brow furrowing in annoyance. He answered sharply, What? I told you this is not the time. I am in the middle of family emergency. Handle it. He hung up, pressing his finger to his temple. To the watching officers, he looked like a powerful man stretched thin, a father tortured by worry. Officer Garba promised action. They had leads from the carnival area. They were interviewing bus drivers. They would find her, he promised. An hour later, as Chief Nelson was reviewing a useless map with the officers, the phone rang again. This time, his patience vanished. He listened for a second, then his face darkened. I said I will be there today or tomorrow for the container clearing. He snailed into the phone, turning away slightly. Do you understand English? Do not call this number again with this nonsense. He ended the call, took a deep shuddering breath and turned back. The anger was gone, replaced by a profound weary sadness. He looked directly at Officer Garba, his voice dropping. Please, she's my heart. Find her. Back at Chief Nelson's estate, the house was storm quiet. Chief Nelson dismissed the staff, saying he needed to be alone. He went into his large wood panel study and locked the door. He poured himself a strong drink, his hand steady. He dialed a number from memory. A voice answered after one ring. Yes, sir, the voice said. You're still yet to inspect or give a go-ahead on the shipment, sir. The shipment will wait, Chief Nelson snapped. My priority has changed. There's a pressing personal and very important issue I have right now. He ended the call, his mind racing. Before we dive back in, make sure to subscribe to African Tales Magic. More powerful tales await. Now let's return back to the story. In the dark room, there was no way to tell if it was day or night. The only marker of time was the arrival of the guard. The door clanged open. A different guard, younger and less brutal looking, tossed in a nylon bag. It hit the floor with a thud. Then he placed a large plastic jerrycan of water just inside the room. Food, he grunted and left. It was like watching animals. People scrambled forward, hands clawing for the bag. It contained hard and small bread rolls. Fights broke out over the water. Stephen, using his size, managed to elbow his way in. He grabbed 2 rolls and filled a dirty plastic cup with water. He fought his way back to Sandra and handed her a roll. They ate in silence, the bread like sawdust in their mouths. Stephen stared at his hands, now dirty and scrapped. He thought about his clean room, his comfortable bed, his mother's cooking. He thought about the flashing lights of the carnival, the music, his proud smile. It all felt like a stupid childish dream from another lifetime. A dream that led to this concrete nightmare. Shame washed over him, hot and heavy. He had been so sure of himself, so careless, and now Sandra was here because of him. Later, they heard the guards talking just outside the metal door. Their voices were bored and casual. The dawn will be coming tonight for the final check, one said. Good, this batch has been trouble. That one boy wouldn't stop shaking. Sandra hugged her knees to her chest. My dad will find us, she whispered. But the words had no strength anymore. They were a habit, a prayer she didn't believe. He has connections. He's probably turning the city upside down right now. Stephen didn't answer. He just kept staring, seeing the emptiness of his former confidence. He had nothing here. No plan, no strength, no clever trick. It was just another piece of cargo waiting to be taken away. The total helplessness was the worst feeling he had ever known. A deep exhaustion had set over the prisoners when they heard it. Not the guards' boots, but the distinct sound of a car horn from outside. 2 short, sharp beeps. It was like a jolt of electricity through the guards outside. They became alert. Their murmurs urgent. He is here. The dawn is here. Look sharp. The heavy lock turned with a loud clunk. The door swung open. 2 guards stood at attention, their faces suddenly respectful and afraid. A man walked in. He was tall and imposing, dressed in a magnificent snow-white agbada embroidered with gold thread. He carried a small leather-bound notebook. 2 enormous bodyguards with eyes that can scan the room like hunters flanked him. The man did not look at the faces in the room. He looked at his notebook. His brow slightly furrowed as if checking a list. His voice when he spoke was calm, deep, and carried absolute authority. It was like the voice of a CEO in a boardroom. Is this the final group? The one for the morning shipment? Yes, Don, the scared guard said, his voice oily with respect. All present, heady and ready. The boss nodded, making a small mark in his book. He finally looked up, his eyes beginning their clinical sweep of the room. They passed over the crying woman, over the praying man, over a farmer's defiant stare. They moved to the back, so the 2 young people huddled together. They stopped. For one endless silent second, the world ceased to turn. The Don's face, a mask of cool command, shattered. Every bit of color drained from it. His mouth fell slightly open. The notebook slipped from his fingers and hit the floor with a soft slap. Sandra? It wasn't a Don's voice. It was the strangled, disbelieving cry of a father seeing a ghost. What are you doing here? Sandra's brain refused to process what her eyes were seeing. The fine clothes, the powerful stance, The familiar face now twisted in horror. Daddy? You idiot! Chief Nelson's roared, his fatherly terror transforming into a king pig rage. Untie her! Untie her now! What have you done? The lead guard stumbled back, confused and terrified. Don, we didn't know. She was just in the bus. We didn't know who she was. Sandra was pulled to her feet, the ropes caught. But she didn't run to the arms she knew. She stood rooted to the spot, staring at the man in the white agbada, the kind father who read her bedtime stories, the generous chief who cut ribbons at hospitals, the man who had the whole city fooled. The pieces crashed together in her mind with devastating force. The late night businesses, the secret phone calls, the constant warnings about the dangerous world. It wasn't protection, it was projection. Her voice, when it came, was small and broken, filled with betrayal so deep it hollowed her out. Daddy, you? You are the one behind all this? The kidnappings in Ajinde? It's you? Chief Nelson reached a hand towards her, his face a war zone of conflicting emotions. Love, panic, guilt, and fury. Sandra, my child, let me explain. But no explanation could break the charms that had just opened. Boof! The deafening sound of a megaphone exploded through the doorway. Armed police. Nobody move. On the ground, now. Bright flashlight beam cut through the gloom, pinning everyone in their lights. Black-clad officers with rifles poured into the room. Chaos erupted. Guards were thrown down, hands wrenched behind their backs. Chief Nelson's two bodyguards went for their weapons but were instantly subdued. Chief Nelson stood still as if paralyzed. An officer shoved him against the wall and slapped handcuffs on his wrists. The beautiful white agbada was now smudged with deaths. As he was dragged out, his eyes never left Sandra's, but she had already turned away, burying her face in the shoulder of a female officer, her body shaking with sobs that had nothing to do with fear anymore and everything to do with a broken heart. Stephen stood amidst the shouting and confusion, watching the philanthropist being treated like a common criminal. He was saved, but the how was a mystery that burst in his stunned mind. The next day at the elite high school felt like a wake. An emergency assembly was called. Principal Bello's face was ashen. Students, staff, he began, his voice heavy. By now you have heard the terrible and unbelievable news. Chief Nelson, a great benefactor to this school, has been arrested for unspeakable crimes. A murmur of shock, even though they've all heard the rumors, rippled through the hall. The Nelson Library, Principal Bello continued, struggling for words, will be closed until further notice. The board will decide on a new name. We have been deceived. We have celebrated a monster. Let this be a lesson that evil can wear the most generous smile. The students filed out in silence. No one joked. No one talked about parties or football. They walked past the library building, its grand doors now locked with a heavy chain. The school's perfect paradise image was cracked forever. In town, the news was everywhere. Newspaper headlines screamed. TV stations ran special reports. Philanthropists unmasked as kidnapped kingpin. People in Ajinde market gathered round radios. Their expression a mix of fury and vindication. So it was one of the big men all along, an elderly woman spat, using our suffering to build his empire. The fear in Ajinde began to melt, replaced by a burning anger and a conscious downing relief. 1 week later, at the state police headquarters, a press conference was packed with journalists. The commissioner stood at the podium. And so, the vast criminal network responsible for terrorizing Ajinde for months has been dismantled at his head. Chief Nelson and his key lieutenants are in custody and will face the full wrath of the law. A reporter shouted a question that was on everybody's mind. Commissioner, how did you find the hideout? For months, it was a ghost. What changed? The commissioner allowed himself a small, genuine smile. He turned from the podium. The credit for the breakthrough belongs not to my force, but to the sharp mind and the courage of a young citizen. He provided the key that unlocked this case. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Joshua. All cameras swiveled. Joshua, looking terribly small and uncomfortable in a slightly too big shirt, was gently guided forward by his beaming parents and his proud teacher, Mr. Richard. Joshua came to us, the commissioner explained, with a life-moving map on his computer. On that map was a single steady blinking light. It was the exact real-time location of one of the victims. The reporter was baffled, but all their possessions were taken. How could you track them? This time, Joshua spoke. His voice was soft but clear. He held up a simple silver-colored ring. It wasn't a phone, he said. It was this. For our school science project, I built a device called Locate Me. It is a GPS tracker hidden inside this ring. My project partner, Steven, was wearing it to test it. A wave of understanding and astonishment went through the room. When it was taken, Joshua continued. The ring never stopped sending its signal. I was working late that night and saw the signal moving on my map. It went to the carnival, then stopped. And then it drove far away to a place with no name on the map, and it stayed there. All night, I knew it was wrong. I showed my teacher, Mr. Richard, and we came to the police right away. The commissioner nodded. Using Joshua's precise coordinates, we were able to plan a perfect rescue mission. He monitored the signal throughout, confirming the victims were still on site. He didn't just give us a location, he gave us certainty. A government official stepped up. In recognition of his extraordinary ingenuity and public service, Joshua will be awarded the state's Youth Medal of Valor. Furthermore, the government will fully fund the development of his Locate Me device into a viable safety product for the public. The school science fair was finally here, but one booth was surrounded by a crowd. The Locate Me project display had the gold medal placed proudly beside it. In the case was a simple silver ring, now with a small card, the device that saved a town. Stephen found Joshua after the ceremony. The football star looked at the genius, and for the first time, there was no jealousy, no arrogance, only pure respect. Joshua, Stephen said, sticking out his hand. Joshua shook it. I need to say this. Thank you for my life, for Sandra's life. He pointed to the ring in the case. I called that stupid. I called you names. I was the stupid one. You are amazing. Joshua smiled, a real warm smile. You wore the ring, Stephen. You were a part of it. No, Stephen said firmly, shaking his head. The win is 100% yours. The credit is all yours. You earned it. I was just the test subject who got lost. He managed a weak smile. The best partner I never knew I had. Weeks later, life in Ajinde had a new rhythm. Ifama was back in her shop. She was making a beautiful blue dress for a customer. Her hands steady and sure. Sandra moved through the school halls with a new group of friends. Real ones who asked how she was, not what her father could do. She was quieter, wiser. Her eyes haven't seen a darkness she could never unsee. But she was healing. And on a bright afternoon, a yellow Danfo bus drove down the main road of Ajinde. Its windows were open. Its curtains were tied back, letting the sunlight flood the seats. People got on and off, chatting, arguing over fears, living their lives. The bus was just a bus again, not a rolling nightmare. Joshua walked home from school, not alone, but with a group of classmates, asking him about his plan for the Locate Me device. Stephen walked nearby, laughing at something, but he always made sure Joshua was included. Joshua looked up at the sky over Ajinde. It was clear and blue. The long, terrible shadow that had fallen over the town had finally lifted, borne away by truth, courage, and a single brilliant idea hidden in a ring. And so, the story of Ajinde fades, not into silence, but into the hum of everyday life. We learnt that fear is a cage, but it's a cage with a door. The key is sometimes found in the most unexpected places. In the quiet mind of a boy who wouldn't give up, in the courage of a mother who refused to stop searching, and even in the shame of a popular kid who finally learned to see. We learnt that the most dangerous monsters are not the ones that hide in shadows, but the ones who build monuments in the light. They smile at you, they help you, they make you trust right before they lock the door. But we also learnt this: no secret is forever, no mask is perfect. One truth, one brave heart, one simple ring can shatter the strongest lie. Let the story of Ajinde be a warning to the wicked and a whisper of hope to the rest of us. Thank you for watching.